Hello everyone, welcome to today's video. Let's talk about how to improve your French pronunciation. Well, before even talking about that, I want to tell you guys that over my past few experience with teaching as well, but also when I was learning the French language myself, French pronunciation is something that I see a lot of people they feel difficulty in. Why? Because it's not that French pronunciation is actually difficult, but we tend to make it difficult because there is this preconceived notion and there is this preconceived idea in our brain or in other people's brain that French pronunciation is difficult. Why? Because we have heard it all over social media, Instagram and YouTube and stuff like that. That's why we have this preconceived notion that French pronunciation is difficult. When I was learning French, it was never the case for me. Okay, I never felt that French pronunciation was difficult. Why? Because no one ever told me that French pronunciation was difficult. That actually made me approach the French pronunciation without any preconceived notion or without any preconceived thought that it will be difficult. It was easier for me. Right? Because of that, it was easier for me. Now, first problem is most of people they listen this French pronunciation. This French pronunciation is very difficult and different from English. That's why they have this preconceived notion that it's going to be difficult for me as well. Well, if you're in that boat right now, just ignore these comments about French pronunciation because it's not that difficult as we think. Okay, if we talk about French pronunciation, it's a lot easier and a lot understandable and a lot more logical than English. Okay, giving an example, a very simple example in English, put is put. Okay, put is put, but but is but. So why is there, why do we have this variation in English? Okay, on one hand, anything ending with ut, it's put, but another word ending with ut is but. Okay, so why there is this weird inconsistency in English, but in French there are French pronunciation rules. There are no such weird incoherencies or inconsistencies. There may be, but they are very few. Okay, very few. In French, if the ending of the word includes EAU, it should always be pronounced, and it is always pronounced as EAU. Okay, which is O. The pronunciation of EAU is O. So that makes it very easy for us to actually understand the pronunciation, and once we know those pronunciation rules, it becomes a lot more easier in future to always pronounce things precisely and correctly. Okay, but that thing takes time. Okay, that thing takes time. Overall, when you are around 6-7 months in your language learning the journey, that's when you will start to realize it, that this is something that happens, that there are French pronunciation rules. Okay, if you're in Frenchify programs, we started Right at A1 program, and French pronunciations, we start working on that Right at A1 program, and you'll be able to start working on it right from the beginning. But if you're learning it by yourself, obviously there's something that starts clicking very later in your journey, because you have to slowly and steadily observe those patterns. Okay, so this was more sort of a mental aspect when it comes to improving our pronunciation, is that you really first of all have to stop thinking that it is difficult. But now actually let's talk about the technique, the methodology on how to work on your pronunciation. Well, first thing that you should always do if you want to improve your pronunciation in French is listening more. Okay, you have to listen more to be able to improve your pronunciation. Why? Because it's only through listening that you will be able to understand on how the language sounds. Okay, it's very important for you to first of all understand how the language sounds, what are its phonetics, which is only possible through listening. So first you have to listen in order to improve your pronunciation. This is the only thing that makes sense logically. In order to improve your pronunciation, first thing you have to do is you have to improve your listening. Okay, so work on that as soon as possible. Now, if you're a complete beginner, if you're just someone who has started learning the language recently, you shouldn't even worry about listening right now. Just focus on understanding the depth of the language, which is through grammar. Okay, so first work more on grammar. Once you know most of the grammar, once you're comfortable in figuring out how the language is structured, what are past tenses, future tenses, and simple tense and stuff like that, then you start listening more. Okay, once you start listening more, then slowly your brain will start catching up on the patterns of pronunciation, and it's only through that practice that you will be able to get better in pronunciation over the long run. Okay, because the thing is, see, even if you learn the pronunciation patterns, even if you see the pronunciation patterns, you won't really be able to pronounce anything, because you really have to listen a lot more. You have to give a lot of input into absorbing the language. Okay, the more you absorb the language, the better it is for you in terms of pronunciation. Okay, and one thing more that I want to make clear in this video is that we're not talking about how to improve speaking. I have made a specific video on speaking as well, how to improve speaking. You can go watch that over there. But today mainly we are talking about how to improve pronunciation. Okay, it's very different. Okay, the two topics are very different. Pronunciation is how we speak the language, like how do we pronounce the words and all the phrases in the language. but how to speak that language is a whole different concept on how to improve your fluency, basically how to fluently speak the language. Okay, so these two are different things. Now, okay, once you have started listening, once you have done enough listening, then what I want you to do is I want your focus to shift from listening to reading loudly. Okay, now that does not mean stop doing the listening, keep on listening, but now you also start reading things loudly so that you're able to apply those patterns that you listened, and your brain, that all those patterns that your brain absorbed passively. Now, while you read, you have to read things out loudly so that your tongue can get comfortable in pronouncing those words in real life. Okay, because that's the whole point. We are improving our pronunciation is to speak correctly, is to pronounce precisely. Okay, now all the things that you have learned passively, it won't be an active learning. Your brain will subconsciously catch up to the patterns. Once your patterns are subconsciously caught up, then during reading you will be speaking out loud, which will help your tongue to get more comfortable into French pronunciation. Okay, so this is how you get better in French pronunciation. And don't be worried about making mistakes. One problem that I really want to talk about is that a lot of students, or generally everyone who is learning a new language, we sometimes tend to do a lot of mistakes, which is okay, but we tend to worry about those mistakes. Oh, my pronunciation is still not perfect. I am right now at this XYZ phase in my learning. My pronunciation is still not perfect. See, honestly, language learning is made on mistakes. If you're not doing mistakes, that means you're doing something wrong. Okay, so what I want to mention to you is that make mistakes. Don't be worried about making mistakes. Okay, obviously the lesser mistakes you make, the better it is. Making mistakes is a part of the learning process. You have to understand that mistakes are okay. Your brain will slowly and steadily automatically correct all its mistakes. Believe me, why I am saying this, because I have experienced it myself. When I was beginning my French learning journey, I used to do a lot of mistakes, but the thing is, instead of worrying about those mistakes, I was just like, okay, we'll see what happens over the time. And over the time, my mistakes got solved automatically. So this is the beauty of learning the language, is that it's a lot more subconscious than conscious. Okay, so you have to understand, don't worry about making the mistakes when you're pronouncing stuff. It will get better over time. But the first thing that you should do is switching your mindset from thinking that, French pronunciation is something which is a whole new different level of pronunciation. No, it's not that difficult. It's actually quite similar to English, as I've explained in the first part of this video. It's a lot easier than English, literally. Okay, I know English as well, I know French as well, I can compare. French pronunciation is a lot easier than English pronunciation. Okay, and stop worrying about that R thing. Okay, please don't worry about that R thing. That is also something that is not that necessary if you want to improve your language. Even if you pronounce R wrong, no big deal, it's still okay. World will still accept you as a French speaker, not an issue. Okay, so first is the mindset shift. Second is you have to listen a lot more than you're currently doing. Listen as much as you can, as intensively as you can. Do quality listening. Okay, instead of picking a 10 or 20 minute video, pick a 3-minute video or a 4-minute video, but dissect that properly. Listen to it again and again to be able to have more quality in your learning. And once that second step is done, now the third step is reading out loud. Okay, pick any particular article on daily basis. Do this for at least 20 minutes. Pick an article or pick any particular paragraph, read it out loudly. Once that is done, go on to the next paragraph, read out loudly. Not only it will help you improve your reading, but it will also help you improve your pronunciation, but also it will passively build your stronger connections in your brain to improve your speaking. Because when you speak out things loudly, our tongue, our brain, our oratory aspect or our oratory phase in our brain is also getting acclimatized to speak better. Okay, so that is also a recommendation. Not only it will help you to pronounce well, but it will also help you in future in speaking, which is again a subconscious process. So this is how to get better in pronunciation. Apply it. Don't worry too much. Don't panic about it. Let the snowball effect come into play and learn pronunciation over the time. Listen more, read more, and shift that mindset, and that will help you to pronounce better. We'll see you in the next one.